Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Biology in the Basement with your host, Mr. Andraco. The guest instructors, Brielle, Cami, and Lulu, teaching us about the mollusks today. Just want to make sure I'm logged into my spreadsheet so that I can double check my work, your work, everybody's work here so that we have a complete row, right? We're working our way down here. And we are on to the mollusks. So, what is a mollusk? It is an invertebrate, meaning it has no backbone. Of course, multi-celled, and it lives in aquatic, meaning any kind of water, or just damp habitats. Must be in touch with water. And some have some kind of external skeleton, not really a bony skeleton, but either a shell or a mantle as they represent. They did include the classification part, right, that you have to include for my part. It's not on your spreadsheet, but they are talking about an entire phylum, right? That's a very broad group. They did a really good job of separating this into each of the three groups. So I'll try to help you with making sense of this. Right? These are the three main subgroups: the gastropods, bivalves, and cephalopods. Right? Gastropod means gastro is stomach, pod is foot. So you can think of that any way you want. Snails and slugs, right? A lot of them have just a single shell. When you're thinking about clams, oysters, mussels with two shells, bivalves, right? That's what they're talking about. So that's the third group. And then the fourth group is a pretty interesting group, probably the smartest of all invertebrates, and that is the cephalopods, octopus, squid, as well as the nautilus. If you ever want to check out an interesting species, the nautilus is probably one of the most clever. And I'll give you some facts of the day on the nautilus another time. Anyways, these guys are all very different, so they did a good job of breaking up their groups accordingly. But these are some things that they all have, their adaptations. So some things that you can put right is that they are, well, you should put that they are invertebrates, and they have no bones really. So, but they do rely on a shell. So that just makes it a little tricky. No big deal. Let's see. Anything else on there? Cold-blooded, right? They rely on the environment to allow them to do things. For my information, I need the nutrition page, but it is pretty neat to see all the different stuff that a mollusk will eat. Many of them, like the cephalopods, are all carnivorous, where they go after all kinds of food. The other guys are usually either decomposers, vegetarians, things like that. For my information, right, I needed to know some adaptations. And so what was nice is they included some for each of the groups. Suction cups, very helpful. Changing colors, combining, camouflaging into their environment is very important. And of course, the shell, keeping many of those guys alive since they're mostly soft-bodied, as they mentioned. So for the nervous system, they do not have brains. But that's for the first two groups, right? The last one, the cephalopods, they're super smart. So what do you put for nervous system? You can just say varies. Okay, their nervous system varies from being very simple to being very intelligent. Circulatory system is simple. An open circulatory system just means that they don't have blood traveling in tubes or vessels, as we call them. The blood just kind of sloshes around inside the body, but since most of them live in damp environments, they're getting the nutrients they need through diffusion. So you can write that if you'd like. This is where we start to get a continuous digestive system, and that's what you have to write for digestive system, right? In one end, out the other. It continues its way through where it gets digested as well as removed through the other end. Respiratory system, most of them use gills. So you could put gills or, in some cases, diffusion. Their sensory organs are very widely ranged, so you could just say the same thing as it varies across all of these species. Some of them can see very well, some of them can sense, most of them have very well developed chemoreceptors where they can detect chemicals in the air, in the water, in the soil. That is one of their other adaptations as well. Fertilization varies across the board. Most of it is external. Most of it is egg laying, I would say. As far as care for young, most do not care for their young, nor do they nourish with milk, right? So they included that. So to recap for the last couple, we have egg layers that have external fertilization most of the time. They do not nourish with milk and do not care for their young. If we want to look at any of a specific species to highlight, they did quite a few, but snails, slugs are all great examples. So for your last column there, you can put any of those. And so that covers the mollusks. Good job, Riel, Cami, and Lulu. So that's me signing off on the mollusks. When I'm back, I will be talking about worms or crustaceans or arthropods. Who knows? Okay, signing off.